Good day friends. Hoping you like our channel about current issues, information and news. Please support us, like, share and subscribe us.
Remaining part of Schengen visa application procedure.
In case one does not have a bank account or does not own enough funds to be taking care of their expenses during this travel, one must ask the visiting friends or relatives to sign an official affidavit of support at the corresponding office in his/her place of residence. Make sure you carry the original document when applying for the visa. Travel itinerary. The applicant's description of their trip, the purpose of traveling, the time frame and all the personal date written down in a letter. Means of subsistence. If the applicant declares that he/she will be covering all the travel expenses, proof of one's financial status is requested. Otherwise, if the relative friend is to cover the applicant's expenses, a formal document issued by the competent authorities to a resident of a Schengen country, the friend relative in this case, is to be submitted. Letter of invitation. By the relative friend residing in a Schengen country. If the applicant will be covering the expenses on his/her own, the relative's friends' names, addresses and the copy of their passports will suffice. In case that the friend relative is not a citizen of this Schengen country, a copy of the residency permit will also be required. Documents required when applying for a tourist visa. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen visa for tourism purposes are bank statement, preferably for the last 6 months. Affidavit of support. In case one does not have a bank account or does not own enough funds to be taking care of their expenses during this travel, one must ask the visiting friends or relatives to sign an official affidavit of support at the corresponding office in his/her place of residence. Make sure you carry the original document when applying for the visa. Travel itinerary. The applicant's description of their trip, the purpose of traveling, the time frame and all the personal date written down in a letter, as well as hotel reservations or a formal invitation letter from a resident of a Schengen country. Documents required when applying for a business visa. On the following link, you can find the list of required documents to obtain a business Schengen visa. Documents required when applying for a training visa. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen training visa are enrollment certificate, at an eligible institution for the courses one will be attending in the Schengen country. No objection letter. NOC from the educational institution where the visa applicant is currently enrolled, if applicable. Documents required when applying for a medical visa. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen medical visa are a letter from a doctor, clinic, hospital in the home country of the visa candidate that he or she needs medical treatment. Official confirmation of the treatment appointment by the receiving medical institution, hospital, clinic in the EU. Proof of financial means. Proof that the applicant has sufficient financial means to pay the medical expenses and other related expenses throughout their treatment. This can be one of the following: bank statements, letter of sponsorship plus bank statements of the sponsor, proof of advance payments of the treatment plus bank statement for other related expenses. Verbal note from the Ministry of Health of applicant's home country, which must declare the readiness of the relevant government of the applicant's home country to cover his medical treatment costs for covered medical treatment by the government of the home country of the applicant. Other travel purposes. If the purpose of your visa is different from any of those listed above, then you should collect the additional documents listed below, according to your purpose of traveling to Europe. Documents required when traveling to Europe for the purpose of studying. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen student visa are 2 application forms instead of 1. Letter of acceptance at an EU university, college, school. Proof of financial means. Documents that show one is able to reside and financially maintain him/herself during their stay in the Schengen zone. Documents required when traveling to Europe for the purpose of employment. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen working visa are 2 application forms instead of 1. Employment contract. A contract between the applicant and the future employer residing in the Schengen territory. Documents required when traveling for the purpose of joining a spouse residing in EU. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen visa to join a spouse residing in the EU are 2 application forms instead of 1. The original certified copy of the marital certificate. A copy of the spouse's passport, if he/she is an EU citizen. If the spouse is not an EU citizen, but only lives in a Schengen country, the copy of his/her residency permit is to be submitted as well. Documents required when traveling for the purpose of participating in cultural, sports or religious events in Europe. The additional required documents to obtain a Schengen visa for cultural, sports or religious events are event information, i.e. invitation letters, entry tickets, enrollment conditions, detailed program and other documents that present relevant information about the event. Proof of previous performances. Participation in previous festivals and ceremonies, cultural, religious, sports competitions, winners' certificates, proof of world, international ranking, sports. Frequently asked questions about the required documents for Schengen visa application. Do I buy the plane ticket before or after they issue the visa? After. One must have a copy of the reservation of the return ticket for the time intended to be traveling. It is not recommendable to buy the ticket before getting the visa, if not necessary.